Howdy there, folks. You're listening to another exciting episode of You're Not My Father. Coming to you not so live from our studios here in Anchorage, Alaska. Get ready. I'm a podcast superstar. Welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of You're Not My Father. It's early in the morning, and so you can tell by the tone of my voice because I sound like my hero, James Earl Jones. Yeah, not exactly. But what I am doing this morning is I'm having a cup of coffee and I'm trying to relax. It's Saturday. It's holiday weekend, Labor Day weekend. And I tell you what, this coffee is amazing probably because it's hot. It's coffee. It has some creamer in it. And that's exactly what I'm looking for on a Saturday morning. There's always a good time for coffee. Never a bad time. So I'm not sure. We might put some copyright-free jazz into this and see where that takes us. Maybe some people are into that. Some people are not. The older I get, the more into jazz I kind of get. I grew up with, pop music in the early 80s and Huey Lewis and the News and Madonna and all that type of stuff. The Police, the Cars, things with the in front of it. Flock of Seagulls. And it quickly kind of morphed into heavy metal and hard rock. As a wannabe guitarist, I guess, call that. I was immediately drawn to the fast-driven, hard rock scene of the early 80s in Los Angeles and Hollywood. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Anyway, obviously I haven't had enough coffee. I don't know where that conversation was going to go to. Here's to rectifying that. But, today I want to talk to you about a new game that I've come up with. Chances are you probably played it. I'm definitely not the progenitor of this game by any means, but it's called Couch Blanket Bingo. If you've never heard of it, that's okay. I really haven't either before all this. I just kind of made it up. Well, why? Well, it's a particular scenario. And I'll do my best Liam Neeson voice. I have a particular set of skills in the scenario that plays out amongst fathers that you've probably been a part of, whether you really realize it or not. It's a pretty easy game to play. Ready to learn. It actually really is. And very low effort for the most part. So first things first, you have to find an activity that involves a blanket. So I'm talking about like being in a bed or on a couch, that sort of thing. You've got a blanket. So you get nice and comfortable. Make sure that you're watching TV or playing on your phone or playing your favorite looter shooter game, which mine is Destiny 2. For sure. Really great. Things are nice. Going great. You got that mental picture? Does it look good? Yeah. Things are enjoyable. That type of stuff. So the next thing is, again, you don't have a whole lot of control over this. Your kids or your significant other comes in. Usually something benign, like a kid comes in with their tablet and sits next to you. No problem. Hey, you're still playing. Having a beverage, just like I am. And then, your blanket is now my blanket. That's how it happens. You can just imagine cold feet all over your legs. The blanket is now their blanket. So you shriek or maybe you groan and then you move away some, but the blanket just doesn't come with you. It's been assimilated by this kid or significant other. And it's a battle that's won and lost in inches, and you've lost a whole lot, buddy. And around this time, maybe your wife comes in. Oh, that looks comfortable. Well, bam, jumps on the couch, nestles her cold feet under your legs. More inches are gone. Time goes on. Channels turn, shows change, blanket losses mount. Eventually, you have a little bit of blanket left. You're cold. The show is now on Ryan's world, and your world has taken a turn for the worst. Now, I know I'm not the only one that this happened to. Like tons of folks across the world, this happens to them all the time. But I didn't come to complain. No, of course not. I've come to share my 5 easy steps to keeping your blanket. And maybe it's a Linus thing. Maybe it's not that easy. As a matter of fact, they're all probably pretty hard. They're totally worth it. So here's what I do. You find out what blanket your family hates, and you use that one. Well, this takes a little bit of doing. My wife doesn't really like wool blankets. They're kind of scratchy. For other folks in the house, it may take a little bit of doing. Kids are easier. They hate My Little Pony. You may just have to go out and get one of those blankets. Sacrifices must be made. Now, if step 2 fails, you have to do the dirty. When I mean dirty, I mean you make your blanket dirty. Greasy, nasty, just disgusting. It's a dirty job, but you're up for it, right? So, I mean, you just got to funk it up a little bit, and sure enough, somebody's going to take notice of that and not going to want to climb under there. It smells like teen spirit. Well, maybe something off smelling will deter them from using your blanket. Not for the faint of heart. Probably not anyone else would choose, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Now this one's a little odd. You're only using a small blanket. That's got some cons to it. You just might lose the whole blanket right away, or even worse, somebody decides that they want it in their lap. But this can work. It won't even cover up my feet, let alone yours. You can't have it. So this last one, and if you're keeping track, this is probably number 5. This last one, it makes the most sense. So it's the one that you're probably less likely to do because planning mind-numbing couch entertainment really doesn't make sense. So you keep an extra blanket hidden or just on the couch. Invariably, they won't want the spare, but if you make sure you love the spare, who's the real winner then? You go, Machiavelli. And the other thing that's kind of changed in the last month or two is, the kids being out of school and being home for quarantine and whatnot. And pause while I sip this coffee. Or rather, a gulp. But the kids have been down in the big room where the TV is, the big couch, and big blankets have ended up down there. And part of me is like, kind of respect the blanket game here. They put a blanket out here, a comforter that'll cover this entire couch. We've got a big couch. It's a big sectional type deal. And it looks like crap. The couch is not organized. There's this huge blanket all over the place. You can't really fold it. I mean, it's meant for like a queen size bed. But then you get nestled down into it. And then you're like, you know what? This blanket can really take care of all my woes. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that because I didn't come up with this idea. And of course, that insults my my manhood, fatherhood, and all the other Machiavellian ideas that I would probably have. And that's a problem for me. I don't know if I can handle that. But it's not the end all be all. It's not the nuclear option when it comes to blankets on the couch. Because last night I was actually kind of cold because my wife had part of it and I had most of it. And then my son jumps up on it and then he wants to be underneath it, but kind of have his head out. Long story short, the way the blanket's made is not, wasn't really going to work. So there you go. Beach blanket bingo. It is not. It's called couch blanket bingo. And I had to go look at my notes to make sure I was calling it the right thing. But, it kind of changes things when it comes to being in a bed, though. After all, couch blanket bingo doesn't even have the word bed in it, for crying out loud. So whenever you're in a bed, those rules kind of change a little bit. But the game doesn't. You still end up with less covers, and there's no winning. So I'm just going to call this one like it is. If you pull the covers, you're the blanket hog. How many covers are on the opposite side? It's not enough. They're just trying to survive. How can you do that to people? It's a bad option. Don't do that. And if you're going to get up, get a blanket, do that. You don't want to be under the covers with me. Oh, there's a problem there. More issues. The drama continues. And if you get up and sleep on the couch, well, you're probably asking for trouble. Now you're playing Guess Who's in the Doghouse. So the game doesn't really work out. And this coffee isn't really working either. So let me pause while I have another sip. Gulp or chug. So what do you do? What do you do with this game? Well, winning this game is about planning, kind of like what we're talking about with the couch. There's just no way around it. Here's some solutions for the bed. And they're not great ones. I've only got 2. So just be prepared. So have a spare blanket. Okay, just stick to the fundamentals here, kid. Be prepared. That's the name of the game. If the covers come up, stealth in that spare blanket and go back to sleep. You might even get bonus points for that, for not having woken anybody up or whatever. Con to that one, you might end up needing that spare blanket because they might decide that, this is a great living arrangement and you need to have that blanket. Whatever. Number 2, having lost this game too many times to count, I decided to do some research and get trained. That's right. Use the old noggin, the noodle, the internet. I searched out some esoteric knowledge of the ancients, people that have come before me, the fathers that have come as far back, in the beginning. And you know what? I found something that was called the California King. Well, what the hell is that? Well, a king-size bed is a king, or so you thought. Well, a California King is even bigger because, hey, it's California. So what you can do is you can buy California King sheets and blankets. Now, that's all pro. That's all state. You are the king. So you buy some of that, go to Amazon, find the ones that you want, get it on your bed, and you can look at that generous hang of the blankets gently draping over the sides and almost hitting the floor. Now, you take a look at that. That extra cloth is what's going to keep you warm at night when your California girl isn't getting you any of the covers. And if she still gives you grief after that for pulling your covers because you just go snap a picture on the side of the bed with those covers all bunched up over where you're over here freezing in the polar regions of the bedroom. Maybe you use that picture, maybe you don't. But if you're like most people, you realize the futility of the scenario. And ultimately, you're not really going to win. So take my advice. Do number 2. Get the California King sheets and blankets. Be all pro. Be all state. Be the king, the queen, or whoever you want to be. And make that happen. That's my advice. That's some fatherly advice that you can take to the bank. Now, as far as like the pictures go and all the other stuff, well, I would not keep that on your phone. I also would not bring that up at a party or in a group event where you and a bunch of your mutual friends are sitting around and then something comes up and you retort that with that picture and you're like, hey, check this out. You're probably going to regret that. So mark that as, private, guys only, or better yet, just go ahead and delete it. You took the picture. Feel safe and secure that you took evidence, that you had a photographic proof, but you were a better person. You got rid of it because you love them and you take care of them and they take care of you. And that's really what it's all about. It's having a great family. And I think that's really kind of where it's at. Outside of that, news update on COVID. I think we're officially past the 10-day isolation window from whenever we first started having symptoms. So that one's kind of interesting. Where do you go from here? For me personally, I had the Moderna shot. I had 2 shots. I had those back in April, I think, something like that. So I've got like 6 months in on that. And having COVID, I mean, what do you do after that? I mean, are you essentially bulletproof from COVID? Can I roll around in COVID? Can me and COVID hang out again? I don't know. I say all this in jest, but I'm kind of curious as to, where do we go from here? If I was Axl Rose, be like, where do we go? Where do we go now? Sweet child of mine, sweet COVID of mine. I don't know. Probably one of the worst things that I've said on this podcast, or probably one of the funniest things I've ever said on this podcast. And it's too early to do an Axl Rose impersonation, but if you can see me do the Axl Rose sway, then you'll understand that I'm a true fan. Absolutely a true Guns N' Roses believer. By the way, one of my favorite bands of all time. But yeah, what do you do with COVID now? It's an interesting situation. I'm not quite sure where we go from here, but anyway, being like, I think 12 days in, 13 days in with symptoms, I'm kind of mostly still dehydrated, but I feel fine. Yesterday I was really dehydrated. My fault. Because I just wasn't drinking enough. I have that problem. And got a headache. But outside of that, I'm doing pretty good. I mean, I got up early and rambunctious and doing stuff. And picked up a guitar and was playing it in the bed while my wife's trying to sort of chill out and relax. And she left. So that was exciting. I would say I definitely feel way, way better. So we've been lucky. Very mild symptoms that we had. And so we're thankful for that. And, we're definitely thinking about everyone else who's suffered and hasn't been lucky as us. And we really hope that those people find their solace and peace with whatever's happened. And, yeah. So not to make it too serious, but, basically that's where we're at. We've got a little bit of time left in this podcast. We're running a little fast, quick or short, a little bit. So let's do something. Let's do something different. Kind of like what you would see in a regular show, nightly show. We're going to talk about the news. So let's look at some headlines here. Taliban special forces bring abrupt end to women's protest. Yeah, I can totally see that. Outraged, sickened, terrified, guarding readers on the Texas abortion ban. Yeah, some really serious headlines here. Definitely worthy of discussion, but just not on my podcast. We try to keep it light. Hurricane Ida evacuees are urged to return to New Orleans. There's been a lot of serious things going on here recently. I think it's important that we try to be honest with each other, but also try to have a little light and brevity as well. And try to remember that, we're all in this together, whether we like it or not. We're all humans. We're all in this world, and it's becoming a painfully small world. And we need to be respectful of one another, respect one another's opinions, and try to work with each other. So we're not going to read those crazy headlines. We'll read some funny ones, or maybe not so crazy headlines. Windows 11 is coming out. As a longtime tech person, I feel a little bit miffed by that. I have a super high-end PC. basically top of the line like 3 or 4 years ago, like top of the line. I spent money on that. And I can't run Windows 11. Why is that? Because my processor, while a super high-end processor, is not on the list of supported processors for Windows 11. Bad move, Microsoft. I'm hoping that they walk that one back, but who knows? I haven't heard a really decent reason on why that is. I also get a lot of news about Destiny 2 because that's one of my favorite games. The what is it? The season of the Witch Queen. Anyway, the Witch Queen expansion that's coming out in February. It'll be happening pretty soon. Pretty excited for what the storyline has been. There's been some good changes. And yeah, I've been addicted. Shang-Chi is out for Marvel, which we went and saw yesterday in a limited engagement. And it was really, really great. Love to see the Asian community so well represented by fantastic, amazing actors and actresses. The storyline was really good. Felt a little short, maybe a little over the top in some places, but really just a good movie. Certainly not the worst Marvel movie, and certainly not the best one, but really, really love the characters. Aquafina was hysterical. The tongue-in-cheekness of everything was, for those scenes was just really, really good. So can't wait to see those characters come back into another movie. So good job, Marvel. Let's see what else. We got Charles Barkley hits anti-vaccine sports stars with a blunt reminder. I don't care. I love Charles Barkley, but he's a knucklehead. Jerry Cantrell is in the news. He's got a new album out. That's really cool. I haven't listened to it yet, but it's on my list of things to do eventually. Chris Hemsworth, Thor trainer, says protein shakes and creatine are a waste of time if you want to build muscle and burn fat. How does anybody do anything in the fitness world? Everything they do is wrong, and then it's right, and then it's wrong. I'm not even sure what's going on in Anchorage. The mayor is asking to suspend the plastic bag ban. So here in Anchorage, they got rid of plastic bags, and then they had to charge you for paper bags. So it's essentially kind of like a tax on bags, if you will. I guess that's the 9:30 in the morning, not enough coffee type of view for what that is. Anyway, they suspended that because of COVID, and then it was due to expire again, and then the mayor's suspending it again. So, hey, I'm glad for that. Most of the places that we shop have all been paper bags for the last 2 years, I guess. Really what it amounts to us is that we don't get charged for it, like have to get charged for it. So yeah, there you go. Let's see what else. More local news here. Another shooting. Shooting that where APD essentially got one of their officers accidentally shot another officer while there was responding to a shooting, which is, really sad. Hopefully that officer is doing well and recovering. They do a really great job out there. Accidents do happen, and nobody needs to suffer from that. Somebody got appointed to the Permanent Fund Dividend Division. If you don't know that much about Alaska, the Permanent Fund is it's like a trust fund that was set up right after oil was found or discovered back in, I guess, the 70s or 60s. And it's supposed to pay out a certain amount every year. And it's been a big bickering fight. And so very contentious, always in the news, seems like it, for several years now, because the state government wants to take the money that is meant for the people. So there you go. And how much money do you get? It varies. I think this year, after some hotly contested debating, it's going to be about $1,100 per person, which is really interesting. A lot of people don't know that. At least here in Anchorage, at the moment, we don't pay a sales tax on most things, except for alcohol and property tax. We also don't have a state income tax, and then plus you get the PFD. So it's definitely some pros to being in Alaska for sure. Yeah, nothing else really too exciting, outside of the typical norm. A lot of the news here in Alaska is depressing. And most people would probably say that that's indicative of all of the news out there. But I like to differ on that. One piece of unofficial news is that it is officially pumpkin spice season. I don't know why it is officially that, but I'm starting to see pumpkin spice things pop up on social media, and that's all I need. I love pumpkin spice. I always have. I think I like pumpkin and pumpkin spice related things way before it became basic or anything else like that. So here's to you, pumpkin spice lovers. Pumpkin spice on. So I did order some pumpkin spice coffee creamer and some other things. And yes, I am going to be making some pumpkin pie because I love pumpkin pie. And it's that time of year to be out in the fall weather, I guess, wearing Ugg boots. I never quite understood that. Even here in Alaska, I'm like, I would only wear those during certain periods of the year. But we're going to crank up our fire pit this weekend as long as it'll stop raining between here and there, and have ourselves a great old time. And yeah, just enjoy the fall weather. I don't like the transitional seasons all that much, at least not up here in the South, where we're originally from. Fall is pretty awesome. You've got that. It's not too cold, but it's cool, crisp, and refreshing, just like a drink. But up here, the transitional seasons are messy, I guess. You have spring, which really isn't spring. It's just what we call it is breakup of the ice and snow and stuff like that. And it just gets, slushy and nasty and cold. And maybe it's hot, maybe it's cold, maybe it's not. It's going to be messy. You're tramping in slush and dirt and whatnot into the house for, good couple months maybe. And then in the winter, for fall, you've got leaves and you've got, snow and ice and rain and wet, and, it's messy again. So yeah, the transitional stuff is just not that great. And, one of my favorite things to fuss about is, a Glade scent. It's called Alaskan Spring. I probably talked about this on the podcast before, but Alaskan Spring is not what you would think. It smells like dog poop and pee and garbage and whatnot. If you can just imagine all these things happening outside and not getting cleaned up, and snow lays on top of it, and it happens again, and snow lays on top of it, and it's like this horrible, nasty snow sandwich of sorts that you would never want to eat. I don't know why I use sandwich as an analogy, but then once it all melts, then it all, if you can just imagine, it's horrible. Alaskan Spring is not pleasant at all. It's laughable, as a matter of fact. More like Alaskan Summer would probably be a better term to, a fragrant type thing. Um, yeah. So it's that time of year that, we need to get out and get things out of the garage, get things ready for winter, snow, plow type things. So our snow blowers, shovels, ice picks, salt, that type of stuff. Make sure that you've got your winter tires changed over, which I need to do. If that's what you do, some people have all seasons and they're fine with that, and some people don't, and they're okay with that too. Like with studded tires. So there's typically a lot that you need to do to winterize your house and your yard. Big shout out to This Old House. If you don't know how to do any of these things, they have a YouTube channel that is amazing. You can pretty much learn how to do just about anything and everything in that channel when it comes to house repair. It may not be an exhaustive guide, but it'll definitely get you in the right spot. I highly recommend it, especially for somebody who's looking at buying a house and maybe needs to understand what a home ownership really does. So as a father, I can definitely tell you that we're going to segue into a small but brief section about home ownership. Basically, being a young person and you're going to have a home, especially coming from the world of renting or living with your parents or that type of stuff, having your own home means a lot of work. That's not to say that you should be like depressed and weirded out about the whole thing, but it can be its own interesting type of hobby. Home improvement, it can be fun. One of the best pieces of advice I could give you is every time you go to Lowe's or Home Depot or one of those stores or whatever, pick yourself up a good tool. Just one. Get something that you need. Maybe you don't even know that you need it yet, but something practical, and slowly start building up your tools. And the reason is that you're going to need those tools eventually. If you're going to do your own maintenance in your house, which I highly encourage that you should. Eventually you're going to, if you're going to do home maintenance, you'll start needing those things. You'll want those things. You may not need everything power tool related wise that you see on the shelves, like routers and table saws and that type of stuff. But you just might. So pick up these little tools, especially, like wrenches and screwdrivers, bit sets, that type of stuff. They work out really, really well. And pro tip, there's something called an impact driver. So a regular screwdriver is just a regular screwdriver. It does what it does and whatnot. An impact driver is something all entirely different. I can't explain it too entirely correctly, but it's something that essentially it'll kick into another drive, and it'll power through things that your normal screwdriver couldn't or wouldn't do. And it uses a different type of bit driver. It can still work in a screwdriver, but it's a bit different. But here's what I'll tell you. Having two power or screwdrivers, or power hammer or impact driver, and a regular screwdriver is kind of the way to go. I recently got two new ones. It was kind of a package deal, and I was kind of interested in what an impact driver does. And this is how I run around the house now. I've got one that is a drill, like with an actual drill head on it. And the other one has, assorted bits like Phillips head, flat tip, that type of stuff. And the reason for that is if you're putting things in walls or that type of stuff, typically what you're needing to do is drill a pilot hole. This is something, every father should tell their kids, drilling a pilot hole into whatever surface you're doing it in. So whether it's sheetrock or wood, drilling a pilot hole before you put a screw into it. So that pilot hole is a little bit smaller, maybe around the same diameter. It's going to make things a lot easier, a lot less frustration, and you're going to be able to get those screws into the walls, or I forget what they're called. I think they're called mollies or drywall anchors, that type of stuff. into those walls. So having two of these instead of having to change up bits on a regular basis makes things a whole lot better. But we'll turn that into a different show for another day. Kind of rambling on here, but the whole point of it is that you can do it smart as long as you've got the right tools, and patience is the name of the game. Once you start getting frustrated, which quite often I have in most of my experience, gotten frustrated and done things the wrong way, and then you typically have to do them again. So there's a saying out there, measure twice, cut once. In my case, maybe measure 4 times and cut once, just to be sure. So if you do it right the first time, you won't have to do it the second or third time typically. But anyway, that's all we've got for today. Look forward to our YouTube channel. You're Not My Father on YouTube. You'll see our videos. We're going to be posting a video this weekend about our vacation wrap up where we went and did a bunch of activities here in Alaska. So you'll get to see some cool Alaskan type touristy things, which we typically don't get to do here, or don't typically do, because I guess some Alaskans just don't do some of these touristy things. But anyway, it's a really cool video. Give you a little bit of insight as to what an Alaskan vacation could be and some of the cool things that you can do as a family and taking advantage of in the Anchorage area. And thanks for listening, and y'all have a great day.